you to start from our basic explainers for the benefit of everyone. And we know that there are service-based tariff, which is seen as a scheme classifying different people into different bands. So maybe let's begin by explaining what these bands are, because they say this particular increment affects only band A. So before we get to this band A, let's know which category we all belong to, and then we can now talk about the band A and build it from there.
Okay, good evening, everyone, my fellow Nigerians. The service-based tariff was introduced in 2020, in September 2020 precisely. And the idea behind the service-based tariff was to ensure that people that enjoyed better hours of more hours of supply, that have a better quality of supply, pay higher tariff than those customers that enjoy less hours of supply. Basically, we have 5 tariff bands. We have the lowest band, which is classified as band E, that is 4 hours of supply and below. We have the band D, which is 8 hours and below. We have band C, which is 12 hours of supply and below. We have band B, which is 16 hours and below. And we have, then we have band A, which is, I missed the top. Band A is 20 hours and above, band B 16 hours and above. Then we have band C, which is 12 hours up to like a minimum of 12 hours. So we have band D, which is a minimum of 8 hours, and we have band E, which is a minimum of 4 hours. The whole idea is to ensure that the distribution companies improve in the delivery of service to customers, and at the same time to ensure that customers that enjoy better hours of supply pay more for electricity. If you are band A having a minimum of 20 hours, you pay higher tariff compared to band B having a minimum hours of supply of 16 hours. Then band C having a minimum hours of supply of 12 hours. Then band D having a minimum hours of 8 hours. So that is the idea behind that classification.
We know which band we belong to, because a lot of people are wondering if it's by hours. Some have not had lights for weeks. Are we in band no alphabet? Or just, so how can people know? Because we're going to get back to this issue of band A increment and why it was increased, but we need to get this basic housekeeping. If somebody picks up their prepaid or postpaid meter and looks at, how do you know which band you belong to without necessarily looking at the number of hours? Because if we want to depend on the number of hours, we may be confused given the abysmal level of power supply we have.
Okay, for the prepaid metered customers, when you vent and you look at your receipt, you will see that the discos have been mandated to indicate the class band. If you are in band A, you will see that A is clearly written on the vendor receipt. Then if you are an unmetered customer, that is, you are getting bills every month, or probably you are a postpaid metered customer, you will also realize that in your bill, discos have been mandated to put the class band in there, indicating the class band you are in. But with respect to the review of tariff today, I think I need to emphasize that the approval granted to the distribution licenses by the Commission is only applicable to band A customers. And I think I also need to provide an explanation, because when we started the service-based tariff and up until last month, if you check the orders released by the Commission, the total number of feeders that the discos have as band A feeders is over 1,000. Of course, there are 3,067 feeders in total. and over 1,000 of them, about 1,100, were categorized as Band A. But in the process leading to this approval, we forced the DISCO to reduce the number of bands based on number of feeders in Band A based on the empirical evidence. First and foremost, when they proposed 874 feeders, as in moving from that 1,100 they initially had. Then, upon the review by the commission, by looking at empirical data of how many feeders actually got the number of hours that can be classified or recognized as Band A, which is minimum of 20 hours, we reduced the number of feeders down to 481. So out of 3,000 feeders and initial 1,100 feeders, only 481 feeders will be affected by this rate review. And the customers constitute just about 15% of the total customer population. I think I can stop here.
Okay, 15% is in clear numbers is how many? How many hundreds of thousands or millions? What's 15% by the statistic?
Okay, currently we have over 12 million customers in NERC, and 15% of that is, I think, if it is 10%, for instance, that is 1.2 million. So plus 600,
so
that's
above,
about 1.
Slightly below
roughly 2 million customers will be affected out of 12 million total customers we have in NERC.
We understand that this increment is 4 times or so, even if it's for, some people say it's big man, big trouble, as it is. But what informed the increment? Okay.
First and foremost, the Act, if you look at the section 116, subsection 2A of the Electricity Act, it mandates the Commission to ensure that the licenses operating efficiently are allowed to recover sufficient revenue for the capital invested and for the operational costs, as well as having a return on the investment they have made. And in that case, it means that the onus is on the Commission to ensure that the operators actually hand sufficient revenue that we incentivize further investments in NERC in order to ensure that improvement in service delivery occurs. So what informed the decision actually, apart from the provision of the Act, is in the sense that if you look at December 2023, there was an improvement in the quality of service down to January, but from January up to date, there was a dip in generation availability. What caused that was because of lack of review of tariff, the DISCOs cannot be mandated to pay for what they have not been allowed to charge. And in that case, the payment to generation companies has significantly dipped, which affects their ability to maintain their machine and also to pay for gas. And if they are not able to pay for gas, definitely there won't be, because gas is one of the 2 significant raw materials for the generation of electricity in Nigeria. As of today, we have about 20 to 25% of energy mix in Nigeria coming from hydro. Then we have about 75% coming from gas. And if the generation companies are not able to pay for gas, definitely they won't be able to generate, not minding the fact that they also need money to maintain their machines. So we are at the point where it's clearly that if nothing is done to ensure that tariff is reviewed so that the market can be relatively liquid, we are at the verge of having further significant deterioration in the quality of supply in the country.
All right, Dr.
Apart from that, I think it's important to also emphasize the fact that up until today, the tariffs payable by all customers are actually based on the tariff determined as of December 2022, And as at then, the tariff was also not reflective of the cost because there was still some subsidy element in there.
All right,
But when you now look at the macroeconomics from 2022 up to date, I think you will say that the unification of exchange rates has actually impacted the cost of gas. And
all right, Dr. Oseni, if I may butt in,
a few days ago,
I don't think Nigerians have a problem paying for their bills. For what you're saying for Band A now, my calculations is my math is right. If somebody, permit me to use the word, recharges for 25,000, you're getting barely slightly over 100 units into your prepaid and all of that. So you have talked about cost reflective, that they are not getting the money they expended in terms of the investment they need to recoup and all of that. But we're all in the same market where subsidy has been removed. All of this brutal economic policy by the federal government, which is seen as necessary but painful, has been affecting everyone. Is this the right time to be thinking of increasing tariff? That's on one hand, given the fact that we can't even see power in the first place. Last year, the grid collapsed 13 times. This year, it has recorded 2.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there is a need for us to look at, you mentioned the grid collapse last year, but it's important to also understand some of the factors that contributed to grid collapse, which was experienced last year, as well as the recent one. One of the key factors that had been identified as responsible for grid collapse in recent times has to do with one, decrease in gas supply because of non-payments. And of course, also we have some issues around the maintenance of the generation, around the generating plants. So if you combine the two together, you will realize that revenue or liquidity plays a significant role in ensuring that we have improvement in the quality of supply. And you also mentioned that people are not getting the service. And I think I just explained to you that when we started, or as at, let's say 2 days ago, the number of feeders classified as Band A feeders were around 1,100. As we speak, based on the order approved by the Commission, only 481 met the list. The reason is that the Commission has evaluated the service delivery and is confident that based on the existing infrastructure, without having to make additional investments, DISCO can deliver confidently minimum of 20 hours to these customers on these 481 feeders. And a lot of monitoring and evaluation processes have also been put in place to ensure that the DISCOs actually deliver, and there is a strong enforcement mechanism that has been put in place in the event of service failure. So, when you said economic, looking at the economic situation, is this the right time? But one thing you need to realize is that when people don't have service, they use alternative supply.
So with the Band A customers who are supposed to get power for minimum of 20 hours a day, is this like a precursor for every other category of people? Like you're using Band A to test what the market looks like and the response, and then eventually are we going to see increment in Band B, C, D, E in the next few days or in the next few months? What should Nigerians be expecting?
Okay, thank you so much. If you have time to look at the order we just released, there is a provision in the order that has mandated the DISCOs to ensure that other customers that won't be getting 20 hours of supply are continuously migrated to higher band. And that is based on another order of the Commission also, which we call the order on performance of the distribution companies. So in that order, there are clearly targets. So one of the targets that is already being put there is migration of customers to a higher band, which will be a target, a KPI for the management of the distribution companies. And they've been told that Now, previously, we operated the Reform Act, which had little enforcement provision. Because in the previous act, we only could enforce up to a maximum of 10,000 naira per day for an offense contravening the license, terms and conditions of the license, and a maximum of just 10,000 for an offense for the contravention of the regulation of the commission. But in the new Electricity Act, there is a provision including complete intervention in a disco that is not performing as expected. So the CEOs of the distribution company have been told that this is the time for them to either sit up or you get out. If you can't withstand the heat, you leave the kitchen. And the commission is committed to doing that.